welcome back to another tongue tied. Welcome back to another episode of East County Voices. We got a nice show ahead of you tonight. Gavin, what we got going on?
Hey everybody, we have the amazing and beautiful Mr. Taylor Evans McQuarters.
Yay.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I am the third vice president of. Oh my gosh. I'm the third vice of the East County NAACP Youth Council, and I am here to answer a few questions and also give a little input today.
So today we're talking about Juneteenth and Pride Month, and we're going to just, I guess, talk about it and what it means to you. So, what does Juneteenth and Pride Month mean to you?
Well, being someone who is kind of just now experiencing being able to be a part of Juneteenth and kind of Pride Month, I've only been a part of it for 2 or 3 past years. I would say what it means to me is I think it's an opportunity. I think it is a chance to show who you are, what you represent, or what you understand about the past year or years that you have had to either endure just being closed in or not being able to be yourself. I think it's an opportunity for that to kind of change and for you to be able to express yourself.
So, why is it important to you?
It's important to me because I think everybody deserves a chance to understand at least who they are, and these are events full of activities where you can learn who you are and how you can be who you are also safely, and find your community. It's important for everyone to be a part of a community where people can understand who you are.
So, what challenges do you face as an African American and s- someone as a LGBTQIA leader?
Um, I would say a challenge as an African American male is pretty. I feel like simply existing sometimes can be a struggle, you know? But I think as time goes on, we learn how to adjust and we learn how to protect ourselves in different ways other than violence, you know? I think that's a struggle. What we're learning how to grow out of certain violent actions, you know? Just everything doesn't have to be fist to fist. It can be spoken. It's okay for you to be in touch with your emotions and share that with other people. It can be frustrating when people don't understand, but that's the point of a community. We will listen and we will be there for you. Now, as far as being a LGBTQIA leader, um, I'm not really sure. I can't really be sure. I haven't had the chance to actually lead someone. I'm still trying to lead myself, but I would say what's important is just keeping an open ear. You know, I think the best thing that I can do is listen and also learn and understand and ask questions. It's not wrong to ask questions and it's not wrong to give an answer that you know in that moment, but it's a growing journey. It's a process.
So, building off of that, what kind of advice would you give to a younger person or a youth that is struggling to find their way?
Pretty much just broadening on what I was saying earlier, learning about yourself, learning about what it means, and where do you go from there. But also not to rush either. You know, it's not a race, it's not a game, it's your life. You know, so whatever you choose to do with it, I just hope you take the time to do the research and to actually talk about it, you know, because it's one thing for you to think about it often and a lot, and it can be hard to talk about it with your parents, you know, it can be hard to talk about it with majority of adults, but there is someone out there who will listen, you know. Now, all advice ain't good advice, but reach out to someone, talk to someone, don't hold it in. That would be my advice.
That's awesome. So, what are like some of the false and like narratives, and what are some like the false narratives and propaganda that is about that is often given to other communities that are about us, and how can we put those to rest that those are not true?
Um, well, I would say false propaganda. And when you ask that question, do you mean about the African American men or do you mean the LGBTQ
Both,
community?
because we never touched on both
Okay,
before.
well, as far as African American men, um, I wouldn't say I pay too much attention to propaganda, you know, because if you are not us or if you are not me, then I mean, I'm not really going to tune in for too long. I'll listen to assumption or questions, you know, but I'm not going to just listen to hatred thrown out at us. It's not healthy in general. But I will say that there was this one moment where I went out to a public space with my family and we were having fun. It's called Rock and Jump. And someone walked up to me and they said, you know, I thought you were scary, but you're actually not scary. Just, I guess I was being watched while I was there. And they said, I thought you were scary, but I guess you're not scary. I would say that I don't know exactly what made me scary, but if that is a part of the propaganda that we tend to make people feel fearful, there's no reason to, you know. We are people just like everyone else. If you come to us with a civil conversation, with questions, and it is coming from a good place, then there's no reason we can't answer those questions or we can't have a civil conversation. Now, as far as the LGBT community, um, there is so much propaganda, you know. But I also feel like there's something that is being said on both sides too, you know, because of the people in the LGBT community, they feel fearful of anyone who is not a part of the community where it's easy to feel attacked, you know. But also on the other side, there's a lot of questions that are left unanswered as well, you know. There's a lot of things that we don't necessarily want to talk about because it can be uncomfortable, you know, and it can be scary. So what I would say to that is one thing that one thing that is propaganda for the LGBT community is that we either choose or we just don't care about religion. I would say those are the two things, you know, and especially what I've seen over the internet when it comes to someone of religion trying to speak up for religion and let people of the LGBT community know that they are still loved and that they are sinning, but like they want to be there for them, then those moments can be very ugly, you know, especially for someone who has fought so hard to show who they are. And then it feels like they are being shoved back into a box. But on the other side, people of religion, they want to express that there is nothing wrong with you. Everyone does something that isn't that is sinful. That is sinful in the eyes of God, you know? So you can see how those two clash, you know? But it's not all, I don't think it's that simple as to say that all people in the LGBT community don't not believe in religious attributes, don't not believe in God, that we are, that's another thing, that LGBT are devil worshippers and other things like that. That's not true. It's not true at all. It's a feeling on the inside toward something that we know we are. We just feel it. You know, some people in the LGBT community even say that they just know they were born with it. You know, and you can't really argue with that when you know, when you just know in your heart something, then that it's very hard to change. It's very, very, very hard to change. You know, and the best thing that anyone can do is ask their questions respectfully and try to understand. You don't have to change. You don't have to conform to the ideas of the LGBT community. That's not that's not what I'm asking you to do. I can't speak for everyone else. That's not what I'm asking you to do because everyone is their own person. You shouldn't have to feel forced to say certain things or certain you shouldn't have to speak to certain genders, I suppose, or anything. You shouldn't have to call me what I want you to call me because I choose to change. That is my choice. That is a part of me. You know, that's how I identify. But that's also where a lot of conflict comes from as well. People not wanting to understand. I'm not asking you to change, I'm asking you to understand. And that propaganda that we all just want to force it on to everyone else is not, it's not true. So yeah.
Thank you for saying that. So what g- so what are like some oh my god, that kind of like really touched me. Um 'Cause I can really relate to that.
Mm.
So what could you tell your younger self that you would if you look at you who you are now, and if there's something you would tell your younger self, what would it be?
If there was something that I could tell my younger self today, I would say don't be what people want you to be. When you're growing up, there are a lot of words that people use to identify who you are. You know, it could be from the smallest things that relate to either your body, it could be related to your color, it could be related to how you act. You know, you're very energetic, you're very, you know, sensitive, you're very hard-headed. You know, there is so many words that people use to describe you as a person, and it's hard to let go of those words growing up. Something that I would tell myself while I was younger is to let those words go. Let them go. Because if it's not who you want to be, it's not if it's not who you say you are, if it's not the truth, let it go. Because all it does is hurt you. All it does is confine you to that box. Once again, when people don't understand, they tend to throw you into the most accurate box they can. They tend to put the pieces of you together that they could figure out and throw it in there. Not everyone can handle everything. Your past, your struggles, what you've seen and haven't seen, it's not for them. It's for you. It's for you to understand. It's for you to grow from as a person. It's where you start and it's how you grow. It's not for everyone. So don't take the words to heart. Don't take them personally. Let them go. That's what I would tell myself.
Awesome. So, you guys in the comments, whoever's watching, you guys are welcome to jump in and like, um, say or give a question if you guys want to ask us anything. Um, I want to go off to and say that one, I think that you're a phenomenal leader. You're a phenomenal in person, and you're really strong minded, and you don't allow yourself to let people tell you otherwise or to allow other people that you can't be different. It's not okay to be different. If we were all the same, this world would be dull.
Mm,
There's everything is different about this planet, about the universe, about the galaxy. Nothing is meant to be the same. If everything was as a as the same, then we would all be nothing but dust and air, because
mm.
that's what we're made out of from, is dust and air. If you really go about it, we're all particles of dust and air. But we
I
make
feel
a
like I feel like that is something that's very hard to work through when it comes to a lot of people. Um, Fear. When people don't, when people encounter something different and not similar to what they have already experienced, then they tend to react with a sense of fear. You know, if we could get past the fear, if we could get past the idea of consistency in character with everybody, then I feel like all of us could better understand each other. I'm not saying fully let go of fear. There are things to be fearful of, especially in this past month, these past weeks. There have been a lot of events that are definitely something to be fearful of, but don't hold on to it too tightly. Hold on to your confidence, hold on to your calm, and make rash decisions moving forward. All right. And these events, Juneteenth and Pride, I feel like these colors and this history, I feel like this is a reminder where it started, where it came from. So hold on to those. Hold on to the history and hold on to your character, to your integrity.
that is beautiful. And I think that's really what makes it important for our community, because it is telling our story. It
Mm,
is celebrating your culture, is telling a story. It's telling a part of a piece of a story, because we could all be in the same room, but we all come from different stories.
mm. Like Cardi B said, everybody got a story. I'm sorry.
If anyone has in the audience has any questions, please feel free to say them.
Yeah.
Uncle Carlos, do you have a question, or you want to hop on and say something? I know you're just eager to ask a question.
You're trying to get me on the show now. Okay.
Okay.
I guess I can start with the first question. What are some of the struggles you guys deal with as as young men with this?
Well, let me see. I would say one of the struggles are, and especially growing up, is kind of, at least for me, was accepting it. Because the stigma of the black man being very, very strong minded, being so focused on one thing and not showing your emotions whatsoever. You can't show emotion, especially as a man. You're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to be the head of a household. You're supposed to be the one they go to when everything hits the fan and people need solutions. You know, people need someone to make them feel like everything is going to be okay. But what if, when you are growing up, you realize that everything is not okay with me? You know, it's hard to put on that for other people, and the walls inside for me are crumbling. You know, for those words that people say when you grow up, those bring me down sometimes, you know, and it starts to crack. Everybody, and especially if you are a black male without a strong figure in your life to show you how to keep it together or how to go through life, you know, and I don't know, it can be very, very difficult, you know, to navigate that by yourself. You're starting from scratch. You got to figure out which ingredients are the good ones. You have to figure out what you can and can't put in there, what will kill you and what won't kill you, what will heal you, you know. And I think that is one of the big struggles when it comes down to it. You already have to figure out the stigma of the black man, and then you throw in LGBT with it. For me, and I'm gonna be honest, I never felt, especially because of my skin, I never felt black enough. I never felt strong enough. I never felt like I was enough in general. And then when you throw in LGBT with it and that stigma, especially when you get that stigma, especially from straight people, from a straight family, then that can be hard too. Because growing up, you don't even have to tell them what you think about it because they'll already give you their ideas about it. Just watching TV, they see something that isn't so confined and isn't so normal in a way, and then they throw out their thoughts into the atmosphere, into the room, into this safe space, and all of a sudden it doesn't feel safe anymore, you know. And then people will wonder why their children don't feel okay, you know, don't feel safe sharing how they feel about certain topics. It's when it's already thrown out there, you know, their ideas and how they feel about certain topics. So then you add those two together, stigma of the black man and then the stigma of LGBT, and you combine those, and it's a lot to work through. You know, takes twice as long. And I don't know if anyone has ever gone on the internet and tried to search through all the information about LGBT community. It's a lot. It is a lot. Everybody has a lot to say about it, and if you don't know where to go, then it can be a struggle. So, and I mean, the only thing that you'll really get, one of the main things you'll really get from being a part of the black community is a lot of violence. You go on the internet and you see fighting, you see shooting, you see people who have went to jail that are black. You see a lot of bad ideas that are linked to the African American male, especially if it's not coming from if it's not coming from African American people. You know, the internet is full of everybody. It's for everybody. Anybody can speak on it. Anybody can say what they want about anything. So when you go onto the internet, especially as a kid, and you don't really know what you're looking for, all you do is type in black men, possibly. Maybe you get a few models. You'll get some nice haircut pictures, but then you'll also get a lot of news reports sometimes. At least that's what I've seen. you know, about a lot of stuff bad that's happened. And then you're like, at least for me, am I supposed to be like that? Should I be more violent? Should I be more mean? Should I be less, accepting of everything, less accessible to everyone? I think, and yeah, that's why we need Juneteenth. That's why we need Pride, so we can get those answers. I'm not saying the whole shabam, especially for a kid, at least for Pride, but at least that information that lets us know the basics of it, that lets us know what we're getting into.
Right, right. Just wanted to say welcome in, Devin. And then we had a question right here. What do you think are some of the blessings of being part of this community? I think it's
Mm.
important to honor uh, that we're not just surviving, but also thriving in so many ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was talking to someone yesterday, on the way back home, and a lot of people, they like to talk as if they are still victims, especially people who haven't really gone through as much. They'll see something that happens on the news to someone else, and then they'll be like, oh, we are all just subjected to so much violence. I don't know about other people, but me specifically, I can walk down the street. There was a time where we couldn't walk down the street, when we couldn't walk on the sidewalks or anything like that. At least me specifically, I can walk down the street. I can walk down to Rite Aid. I can we can purchase certain things that we couldn't before. We have a lot more freedom than we did before. And that was from a lot of fighting that we did. I would say that is a blessing, that we can live where we want to live, that we can be who we want to be on the internet for the most part. There are a lot of things that we couldn't do before. But as of now, in the modern age, the African American people have come very, very far. There has been a lot of struggle over time, and that is not to be ignored. But at the same time, we are very blessed, recognized.
Devin, I want you to introduce yourself, and then you're welcome to hop in and answer the question.
What's up, everybody? Thank you. I was listening to y'all before I got on, so a lot of good things mentioned there. My name is Devin Williams. It's right there on the screen. Y'all know who I am. To the folks who are watching from home, thank you for listening to these two young men talk about a topic like this that means a lot to a lot of people across the country and in the world. Just trying to, be strong in these turbulent moments. Couldn't have a better month for Pride during this time. Celebrate Juneteenth and Pride in the same month. So I'm happy to be a part of the conversation tonight. I think, Lenny's covered a lot already. And so I just, I'm here to, help out any way I can, or just, talk about whatever it is to talk about that you have for me. I know you sent me some questions, but, yeah, Gavin, I'll let you, or you guys can back each other. Like,
I'm just want to say, who? Oh,
mhm.
how about this question?
Okay, and okay, this one here on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even introduce myself, huh?
No,
I like, oh, you guys know who I am, Devin Williams. So, for those who are watching who don't know the work I do, I work for a local nonprofit called Lift Up Contra Costa, which is a 7-partner civic engagement table that comes together to help uplift the voices of our most vulnerable and most impacted in our community, whether it be through housing, through reentry, environmental groups, and we want to uplift also the labor groups out here in the county as well. So my job as a project coordinator, program coordinator, is to ensure that all of our goals are met and our partners have support, and we can work in different areas collaboratively to uplift those voices. So I don't know if I said the same thing twice, but it's been a long day. So who are my role models or people in the LGBTQ plus community that inspire you? As far as role models go, I'm inspired by everyday people that I work with all the time. I don't have one specific person that inspires me because I wouldn't be in this work if it wasn't for the community. Um, so to answer your question, I mean, you guys inspire me, to be honest. Like that's who I see when I go out to these meetings, go to these community events. You guys are always there doing the work. People who are at home watching, we do a lot of stuff in the community um, around activism. I will say, just for a historical figure, I would say, since it's Black History Month, I would say Prince inspires me. Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X, Stevie Wonder, lots of people. A friend of mine named Darius Akins inspires me. He's a very smart young man. He started off in NAACP like y'all, and they are he you know done a lot for his community. I would say Bayard Ruskin, excuse me, Ruskin. I don't know if y'all saw that documentary on Netflix, but called Rustin. But Coleman Domingo killed that role. I think he should have won an Oscar for it. But yeah, he's someone who's in the LGBTQ plus community. My favorite author, oh my God, James Baldwin. I don't know if you guys have read James Baldwin at all. Have you guys read any of his books? Go Tell It on the Mountain, Giovanni's Room. Okay, you guys got some homework to do. Okay.
I've heard of him, but I haven't read his books.
Huh?
I've heard of him, but I haven't read his books.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm gonna get you guys a gift for this month, for Pride Month, and it's gonna be the James Baldwin book.
Okay.
All right. And if you guys have to finish it before summer's over. So anyway, yeah, he was one of the most outspoken, openly gay authors of his time that really inspired, I think, a lot of conversations around sexuality in Black spaces. And he was unapologetically Black and gay. So, or he says he was bisexual, but I've heard, he, towards the end of his life, he was more gay. But I'll make a book list. I see Mary asked for a book list, and she'll share it. So, yeah, those are some people that inspire me. And yeah.
Let me
I
see.
think I said Prince first because his themes weren't entirely masculine, and they kind of celebrate identity that it's not on the spectrum of what one, like you said earlier, people expect men to be strong, and
Right.
so that's why I mentioned Prince, because he didn't care about nobody else's opinions. So yeah,
Really didn't.
mm-hmm. Yeah. What's next?
What about you,
Peyton?
Tim? What about?
Well, seeing as how I'm in me, I care so much about the theater and drama and just the artistic nature of dance, song, and being on stage. I would say my number one would be Todrick Hall. I don't know if anybody knows Todrick Hall up in here, but he is very theatrical. He is such a good singer, and before I even know, he was like this. I don't know. He just didn't seem real to me at first. When I first discovered him on YouTube and I saw his videos, and he did so many skits and just so much, and he met so many people so high up on the actor scale and musical scale, you know,
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
it just really inspired me, you know. Um, it just really inspired me. Um, he is a producer, he's a singer, he's a writer, he's just so many things all just in one ball. And yeah, I can't get enough of Todrick Hall. I love his songs. And then someone aside from him, that meets both categories, I would say RuPaul also. I wouldn't say I'm too much into the drag scene, but for someone so successful and that matches my description, like just it's inspiring, and he just made it so high up there. And shout out to RuPaul, if you see this, hey, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, those two top list. I'm very big on artistry, so yeah, thank you.
For y'all that don't know me, I'm a big Michael and Beyonce and Prince fan.
Yeah.
All day, every day. Um, those are like my top three idols, and I think that's where I probably got my little bit of my diva nature, just a little bit
You said a little bit of your what nature?
Eva.
diva nature, a little bit, just a tad bit, possibly.
We have
Um, the other part, my family believes I came out the womb being a diva.
Okay, diva.
see that.
Um,
It's like, oh,
but for community wise, like more local, it was like hard to find like people that look like me that represented me in a whole lot of different ways.
Mm.
But I will give a shout out to Joy Gustafa. He was a Minecraft creator, and I loved watching him with his Crystal Wolf and everything. And then I would give a shout out to Lil Nas X that came a little bit later because Lil Nas X um was definitely me in a lot of ways. Um and I feel like I relate a lot to him the most.
mm,
I think the next question in the chat was, oh, why is it important for the hetero?
heteronormative Black people to care about Black queer folks? It's a good question.
I could answer that, but I'm gonna be an all day tangent.
Well, how about you start and give us some space to lift some things.
I'm gonna give the shortest answer that I could give. Um, because it's important. Because if we don't look out for each other, who will?
Yeah.
If we don't have each other's back, who will? And I'm gonna be honest. Certain things that were created and designed, and the things that we've done, we've always been here. We've always been doing it. You just no, they never noticed us in that way because we was oppressed even more so than just being black, especially during slavery. We couldn't even dare to even think it. Like I couldn't even imagine trying to be a a slave and being afraid of not only my skin color, but me loving a person that looks like me, that walks like me.
Yeah. Well, I will also say thank you for sharing that, Gavin, and thank you in the chat. This question that was appreciate it. Um, I think what the scope and the lens from the world of people who are heterosexual, whether they are allies or not, I think it's important for them to realize that there are other stories to tell. There's other people who have experiences that are different than theirs, and it should be respected as what they could expect from themselves and as the quote unquote normal world, right? I think from just speaking from experience and like just having been around for a little bit longer than you guys, it sounds like every story intersects when it comes to um, living, different from what your friends and family are expecting of you. And I think um, the support should be there. but how do you teach somebody something that they're not familiar with because it was left out of the conversation when they were our age or younger?
Mm.
So Mary says
Yep.
love needs to be normalized, and I,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think love needs to be normalized, but also just the idea to mind your own business needs to be normalized a little bit more. Like, you know, if you really want to be here, oh, got a book recommendation, be here in a part of my life or your life, be respectful, normalize, normalize, letting somebody mind their own business is what I think. And then I'll let you go ahead and.
Alrighty. Um, I definitely agree. I'll, for me, I feel like it depends on who, minds their business. Um, I had someone growing up with me who was just all over everything, anything I was a part of. If they just felt the need to keep me on a certain path, and keep me from being a certain way. So they would make comments and they would say certain things that made me feel bad about myself. But I mean, it worked for a quite a while, but overall, it kind of just like it was very restraining. Um, I feel like I feel like when you hide yourself for so long and then you finally change,
Mhm,
that is the hardest part because they're still seeing who they want you to be and not who you actually are, you know? And then when you make that change, you kind of, it's like shedding skin. It's like going from a caterpillar to a butterfly. You're growing, and not everybody is a part of that journey, unfortunately. Whether it be parents, whether it be your siblings, whether it be friends, or any other family member. You shed that skin, and some people are still holding on to that skin you're shedding,
yeah.
and they fall off along with it. And even though you don't want to, even though it can be scary, it can be very relieving as well. You know, it's a breath of fresh air that you potentially needed for yourself. As much as we want to as much as we want to stick to the idea that people love us and they're doing it for love and they're doing it because they care,
Mhm,
you know, some people's love has conditions, unfortunately. It's not, we talk a lot about unconditional love, but a lot of it isn't. A
it's
lot of it is loving who they want you
love
to
the
be.
sinner, not the sin, right?
Okay?
Like,
Right.
what does that even mean? I digress. But yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down for sure.
Yeah.
Um, it's like, some people have expectations before we're even born, you know,
Yeah.
and for us to have, our own lives it just needs to be normalized that the way that you're brought up isn't going to be the way that who you turn out to be. Whether
Right.
you keep those values and morals that are instilled in you, you're still going to be who you are at the end of the day. You're going to have your own life experiences, life lessons to grow from. Um, and so people just should have to, from through the lens of a heteronormal world, um, we just need to have these conversations more. We need more people to hear why these questions are important, why these answers are important. Because
That self-reflection. You have to look at yourself. You have to see who you are, and you have to see what you want to keep and what you need to leave behind in order to be the best you for you.
yeah,
One of my kids, when they were little, said, "We be who we be." And I love that. I love to say that saying because it's true. You can only be you. True. Very true. Yeah, that's the best thing you can do when you are trying to be someone else wants you to be. That can be so much harder, so much more restraining, you know. And then when you finally crack, when the glass finally breaks, you
Mhm.
know, that could be the hardest part.
Mhm.
That could be the hardest part, when everything in your world that you try to hold together so hard finally breaks, you know? But then there can also be beauty in the broken pieces.
Yeah,
That's a start. You can finally put it together how it was meant to be.
yeah. Yeah.
Romero.
I know one of your questions, Gavin, and I thought it was timely for myself because one of the questions you sent me earlier, it was about what would you tell your younger self, and you asked our
Mm,
friend here the same thing. Just to kind of state, um, I don't. I know I would tell my younger self to uh, not worry about who you are, what you want to do with your life, what you want to be, no matter who's disapproval. Um, because now being 35 at 18, if I had knew I'd be 35, make it to 35, right? And then doing the work I'm doing now, I've been like, well, this is still great. So you just really never know who you're going to turn out to be. So you just need to go with it um, while you're young. Another book recommendation. So what I would tell my younger self is just go with how you feel, make the right decisions that are going to keep you out of trouble, but embrace trouble when it comes,
yeah,
and
yeah.
learn from it. Huh?
What you talking about? What trouble? I ain't done nothing yet.
Good trouble, Gavin. Embrace that because you don't know how you can grow from mistakes. You don't know how you can grow from, um, just taking a chance at things. And that's kind of what I've done my entire life is just roll the dice and
Yeah.
kind of landed where I'm at. Um, I love various things. Yeah, for sure. Um, and I also would say to young youth of the LGBTQ plus community, LGBTQIA plus. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a mouthful. I would say build a support system around you. Have some friends who understand you, family members that understand you. If you're, not 18 and you still have to live with people who might not accept you for who you are. It's good to build a network of people, but also um, I hope I can't really give advice to anybody because I've never been in that position. So I just feel like me as an adult, when I've had tough times and I've had outs with my family, I've always had a support network, and that's been other family members, friends that I've created. My chosen family, I would say. And if you don't have a chosen family at a certain point in life when you really need one, um, we that brings up an important point is that in this county, especially, we don't have enough resources for youth who become homeless or um, whose families don't accept them. So that's a kind of a broader conversation for another time. But I just wanted to say that like we need more systems and of we need more resources and networks of communication so that people know
Yeah.
where to go, who to call when there has been an incident like that, and we just have like a resource, like a wellness hub for that for folks. So especially in our Black community.
I hope there is more trust when it comes to the LGBT community. Um, in my high school, we actually had a little program where we had a counselor who was a part of the LGBT community come to the school, and he would pull us out of class for about the last hour of class, and we would be able to talk about anything. You know, sometimes there would be a topic up on the board and we'd be able to talk about that.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it comes down to trust. Do we trust them to talk about just anything. And it's one thing for someone to be there in a certain area of your life, but it's another thing when it's like deeper than that. That's why I am going to expand a little bit more on the choose your own family part. And that can mean anything. It doesn't have to be people who are your age. It just has to be people who you can trust. Because me specifically, especially people who are in my age range right now, they might be able to understand, but that trust is hard to come by when it comes to other 20-year-olds because not all of us have it together. And it's hard to rely on someone else when they're trying to figure out everything themselves, too. Choose your family, choose it wisely. And if you don't feel it in your heart, it only takes a few times. It only takes a few times for you to realize when something ain't right, when something just ain't right. And trust that feeling too, because you're going to need it, especially out in the world, especially as an LGBT community member. When you're going out into the world, there's a lot of people who will use you for certain parts of you. And I'm speaking from the heart right now. There have been way too many people, way too many men in general. All right. We're gonna go to the men. A lot of men can be very untrustworthy. And watch watch out. Watch your back. Okay? Go to the women if you need to. All right. Trust who you can talk to, who believes in you, who lifts you up, who tells you you can be more than you are.
Mhm.
Not someone who stays because you give them something.
So, I want to answer that question, Mr. Andrew, just a second. But I want to answer the two questions that was before that. One of them was, what, what's something you're proud of about your journey or identity?
Who's- I'm sorry, what was the question?
What's something you're proud of about your journey or identity?
The journey, I wouldn't be who I am today without the mistakes I made. And my identity, um, I identify as dope. So there we go. I'm proud of that. Um, and I think everybody should wake up and realize who they want to be in this world. It's ever changing, and so with all the constant news feeds and news cycles about this, and that, you got to remember who you are and what you got to do for yourself at the end of the day. And identity and celebrating that identity and expressing it will only help others express who they are, and you can't get rid of all of us. So a little bleak at the end there, but I'm very hopeful that things will get better before they yeah. So I'll pass this one to y'all to answer. It looks like we got a couple minutes before the
Yeah.
I would
call
say
on
I'm
everybody.
so thankful and I'm proud of the wisdom that comes with the journey, you know, and the fact that I'm able to use it to help other people. It can help anyone. It's not just for the anyone in the LGBT community. It's not just for anyone in the African American community. It's for everybody. All right.
And then the second question was, what are your hopes for the future when it comes to LGBTQ rights and representation?
I would say my hopes are for something just popped in my head for Homeland Security. Apparently, like we've been monitored. If you're a part of the LGBT community, you will be monitored. I guess that was a new something. But anyway, I hope that will change. Anyway, aside from that, one of my hopes is that we can expand. We can expand. I hope that more people will see and more people will learn and more people will decide to be a part of this, you know, because the more of us, the louder our voices will be and the more change we can make, you know.
Well, I think that my answer to thank you for sharing that. I, I'm really trying to be optimistic about so many different things, y'all. It's like hard to
Mhm.
focus on one mission, one goal. I think the goal is should be to ensure the survival of the human race at this point. Um, I'm just,
Yep, no, yeah.
you guys know my sense of humor, maybe, but no. Where I want to see the future of this movement, I want to be able to get. Um, I want to keep it. I want to keep progressing. You know, back in 2012, you know, same-sex marriage was legalized on the federal government level.
Right.
Well, and so that wasn't too long ago. So imagine what another 10 years would look like. You know, we have to just make sure that we ensure that this doesn't become a fascist authoritarian dictatorship of a
Mhm.
country. And that's a real possibility that that could happen. And that's just to be real, right? I mean, we have to keep in mind all the different things that can fall into place, but how do we fight and resist that? You know, and this is our communities need to come together, and these the movement has to have a message, and that's resistance, and making sure not only resistance, but I think overcoming, I should say, not resistance, but overcoming. That has to be the mission. Like overthrowing the fascist dictatorship regime if it tries to take over, and that's going to take all of us. So whether you're gay, straight, trans, whether you're black, Latino, Asian, we all got to figure it out. Otherwise, there is no future. So that's just at this moment in time, that's just real. And I know that's a little dark, but I'm saying that because how do we now is time to close the gaps? Exactly. Um, what does advocacy look like beyond this month, beyond Juneteenth, beyond Pride? Um, what does it look like? We got to stay work. We have to get reorganized. Um,
Yeah.
we have to get reorganized, and we have to get on the same message. Whether we people see different through us right now, we got to get on page because if we're on one side or the other, Patty, I'm looking at her comment there. Um, we don't have time to wait anymore because the fire's here, um, and we a lot of people on the left let that happen. Um, the right stayed organized. They got that man back in office, and now we got to clean it up as we always do. So, what does advocacy look like? Advocacy looks like doing conversations like this, getting it out to your friends and family, um, getting out on the streets and marching any chance you can get. I think we should be doing it every weekend, to be honest. We have to keep the momentum going. It can't just be one weekend of no kings, rallies, protests. It can't just be we're doing something for Juneteenth. We need to educate people on what civic engagement is, what organizing is. Take a page out of Ella Baker's book. I don't know if you guys know who Ella Baker is, but because it's Juneteenth month, look her up.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, absolutely. Black History year round, more resources for everybody. But if y'all willing to march, knock on doors, talk to people, get people to join the local chapter of NAACP, um, join Lift Up Contra Costa, whatever we're doing, we're gonna have to be on the same page. And I'm talking too much, so I'm gonna let y'all go now.
No, yeah, I fully agree. I just hope everybody knows that your words really do matter. They do. You know, you just have to grab onto your voice, you know, and know what that means. And I attended this one banquet earlier in the year, and the lady who was speaking said that we may not always like each other, but when we work together, a lot can happen. We can do so much when we work together. We don't always have to like each other, but we can make that change if we put our minds together.
Mhm.
All
And
right.
So
then you see,
one
now
last
whether we agree on every line issue, we agree that we don't want to be under a dictatorship.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
that we agree that progress is the answer. Um,
So
so
one last question, and then from Mr. Andrews, um, and then we're going to do a closing after. So we're going
and
to answer
so,
his question.
Okay.
So his question was, as we celebrate the holiday and events such as Juneteenth and Pride Month, what does advocacy beyond celebration look like?
oh, I already answered that one. I mean, if you guys
Oh, okay.
with more
I didn't
things,
know if we got the answer. Okay. So then we'll just go straight to is there any like final thoughts that you guys want to say?
Sticking up for the little guy. All right. If you see something, say something, or else nothing can be done. All right. We can't do anything about something that hasn't been said about, or if it has come to pass. We we want to help. We want to know, and we want to talk about it, and we want to take action. But that can't happen if nothing is said. If you decide to fight the battle by yourself, that's your prerogative. But if you want, we're a community, and what better to utilize your community than to speak up and to let people know that you need help.
yeah, amen. Yeah, so yeah, I agree. There was a comment in the chat. We don't know anyone our vote. There's been a lot of there's been a lot of lackadaisical things going on the Democratic Party right now, but we have to be our own strength in these moments. And so,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's what it is. Sometimes I'm wearing this shirt tonight. You know, these two leaders here got us to where we are with other people in that movement. So my thing is, I'm gonna close with this. It's just be vigilant, be ready, um, do what you got to do to hold people accountable, and stay in the on the path to progress. Okay, and
Yeah.
I'm saying that as Devin Williams. I'm not saying that as any representative of anything else that I any other hats I wear. But thank you guys for this conversation tonight. It's been really nice chatting with y'all. I wish I got on a little bit earlier, but I was running some errands. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. I see Carlos is back.
I just want to tell everybody thank you for coming out and just watching and being a part of this conversation. We do definitely need more conversations, more than just Black History Month, more than just Juneteenth, more than just Pride Month. These conversations need to be happening every month of the year. They need to be happening more frequently, now more than ever, because who knows when the next time we're going to have this conversation.
Mm.
Today is a gift, but tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I would love to close out unless Uncle Carlos, you want to close out?
Nah, go ahead, close. I want to
Okay.
hear you. Go ahead.
Really
So
quick, really quick.
Oh,
Shout
wait.
out to Mary. Hi, Mary.
Yeah, Mary.
um,
Thank you for tuning in, Patty. We miss, love you. Uh, Romero, and Darius. Thank you all, and everybody else that was just on here and just watched. We appreciate your support. Thank you all for tuning in. Oh, go ahead, Gavin.
and thank you to our two guests, um, Devin and Taylin. I call them both my brothers because I
Good.
don't know where I would be without them at times. Um, I love you guys all so much, and remember, keep your head up. Don't feel
Yeah.
bad. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Always be unapologetically you, and have a good night. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Ooh.
Dang.
Good night, everyone.
Right. And like and subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, make sure you subscribe uh, and click the little button for notifications so that you know every time we're on, which we are every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay. And with that, we want to say good night, God bless, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Peace.